Doghouse podcast is back. We got Smooch
You know
from
it.
the Dawg Show with Trip and Smooch. Great return guest. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Excited to be back. Love your show. Love your content. So honored to be here, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming back on. And always going to give a shout out to Smooch. He always has the best, like Georgia, I'll say, hat gear, bandanas, always original. I
You know,
love seeing that when I watch this
the,
podcast.
when we're walking around in Athens, every once in a while, someone will come up that watches the show, and they want to know where my bandana is. So I started carrying it with me in my back pocket if I need it. They say, "Where's your bandana?" And so I'll bust it out. But I put it on in the fourth quarter of every when I'm at the game. The bandana
nice.
comes out when everybody puts the fours up at the end. So
Nice, man.
yeah.
Well, obviously that bandana has been working. It's hadn't lost since 2019, so keep wearing it.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, talk a little Georgia football. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse podcast. Really appreciate the support, even though it is all season. Got some great content coming up. First question I want to have for you is, I know he's waited his turn. Is Gunner Stockton the man this year to at least lead Georgia to the playoffs and potentially a national title? I know everybody's, I'll say from some of the ESPNs and all the other media are not the highest on him. So thoughts on Gunner Stockton heading into the 2025 season?
Well, it's unique that you asked this question to me because I saw Gunner play in 2018 as a freshman. And he was, to me, one of the more exciting players I had seen in high school. So he played at a smaller school, and because of that, he's a man amongst boys on the field, and he just absolutely dominated. I was excited about talking about Gunner before I even knew there were Georgia podcasts in existence. So I probably entered the podcast world of just listening in 2020. But in 2018, 2019, I watched him play through high school at Raven. He achieved his 5-star ranking, and I thought, okay, he's got the football cognoscenti on his side now. It's just an ascension into greatness. He would later lose that 5-star ranking because he didn't do all the camps. He didn't do all of the social media push. He didn't do all the things that people do to sort of up their brand, as they say. But Trey, it is just hard to get past a few things for me. 13,652 yards, a state record. Combined passing in high school, 177 passing touchdowns, a state record. Trey, senior year of high school, 55 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, 77 rushing touchdowns, also a state record, 18,000 all-purpose yards, state record. You can tell I'm a fan.
Are you?
And I know that we as Georgia fans, there is no one better at hitting the panic button than a Georgia fan. We have our finger on that. We wake up with our finger on the panic button. But I've thought a lot about this going into this season and what do we expect and where are we going? And, we had those 2 little snapshots of Gunner last year and what kind of opinions can we extrapolate from that? But I would like us to focus as Georgia fans on lessons we learned from Stetson Bennett. About this time of the year, going into Stetson's infamous run, there were pictures in sports media of JT Daniels flexing with the caption "Showtime" under it. I remember it distinctly. It's showtime. JT Daniels is going to come in, and he's the next big thing in Georgia because he had a couple of games where he blew up, the Missouri game in particular. He came in, lost his job to a young man that was shorter, that didn't throw the ball with as much flair, that was dripping with leadership. And so when it comes to things you can't measure with a tape measure or a stopwatch, like leadership and team buy-in, I think that we haven't seen a player like Gunner in a while. Does that guarantee success? No, but it should give Georgia fans hope. You add in his mobility. Gunner certainly has even better measurables than Stetson did. Of course, you don't know till you hand him the reins and say, this is your team, go. But I am optimistic. I've been excited about Gunner. I thought he would get his chance before now. I'm surprised Carson beat him out going into the last season. I don't know how all that transpired. I'm not in that locker room, no matter how much I beg. They still haven't let me in yet to provide advice for Kirby. But I'm a Gunner fan, and where everyone else is saying you're going to have to show me that you can, with Gunner, I've watched him at every level he's played in. He's going to have to show me he can't, because all he's done is be the best player on the football field when he plays ball. And I know he's taken a huge step, but I'm optimistic rather than clutching my pearls like a lot of folks are.
Yeah, I can see all that. And I remember watching back to the 2020, I believe this was COVID. Everything was weird.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think, ESPN 2 or whatever. It was Brock Vandergriff versus Gunner Stockton in regional game, and they all played. And I'm like, both these guys are good.
Right.
And I remember he had over 100 yards rushing, running up and down the field. And I was like, I don't want to, throw his name around. He looked like a little mini Tebow to me, but he was righty.
I have said right-handed Tebow for 5 years. Yeah,
there you
absolutely.
go.
Yeah,
it just would run over you. Baseball player, hard nose from the mountains up there in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been excited, and he waited his turn. And the whole issues last year with Carson Beck and losing locker room, and everybody was all in on Gunner Stockton as a leader. So we got the locker room part. He had the whole spring. I thought he looked pretty good in the spring game, so I'm excited too. I like the mobility, and I just think the Notre Dame game, it was a tough situation to be put in. First career start in a playoff game, and some other all the issues. I'm not going to say, hey, it was a bad setup, because all the teams had to play.
Mm-hmm.
You had the New Orleans incident. Kirby's dad ended up passing. I always told my mom, I was like, even if we would have won that game, would have been great. Like, where was the mindset of Kirby? And it just wasn't meant to be. Got to give it to Notre Dame. They're the better team. But having this whole offseason, and I'm kind of feeling Kirby's going to have a little chip on his shoulder, even though he did say we had the best coaching staff performance. So I'm back to it. I'm excited too. And the locker room's got him. I just hope he stays healthy, and they put some pieces around him with the portal guys and some of the wideouts that they brought in. And we got to hope the O-line does better. Yeah,
that's it, man. That's it. Right on the money. It is hard to win a football game. Now, what I'm about to say is kind of controversial, but when your coach gets out-coached, it's hard to win. And there were reasons why Kirby was out-coached. But in that Notre Dame game, that he and his guys weren't ready for what Notre Dame brought. And that's too much to ask of a kid in his first start. It's just too much. I don't think you learn a thing about Gunner in that Notre Dame game, except that he's got grit for days.
Oh, yeah.
They got beaten by a better team, better coaching staff. We can talk about all the outside things, and I believe that has an effect. I mean, he's a huge family man. I can't imagine something like that happen, turning around and being ready for this young upstart coach that is just an aggression. And it caught them with their pants down, and they lost. Right. But as far as extrapolating positive or negative on Gunner from that's just not fair, especially with that O-line play.
Oh, yeah. Completely gay, but I'm really excited, and also like the way, and we'll talk about it later in podcast here on how the schedule sets up for Gunner, kind of getting his feet wet with some lesser opponents, and then he kind of hitting SEC play.
Yeah.
Next question I had for you, this can go anywhere you'd like, but any bold statements for Georgia this year, maybe out of the box, or a hot take from as a player or from the team that you'd like to see for Georgia this year?
Bold statement for Georgia this year. Okay. I think when it comes to the Georgia Bulldogs in 2025, I think the defense is elite at a level we haven't seen in a few years. I think you're going to see that loss to Notre Dame as a catalyst that took what was already possibly one of the more athletic defenses in Georgia history, that is just going to push them. There is always something that stings a player leading into a great season. It's very rare that you have like a 2021 Georgia without that 2020 COVID season. There's always something that just bites them, that just hurts them. The loss to Florida, all of the things that happened that led to the Dogs being so ferocious in 2021 and then the repeat in 2022. And I think that when you're talking about the 4 and 5 stars all over the field, and some of these guys are different types of football players. The athleticism that is going to be on the field when Georgia starts it's been unmatched in recent years. Now, how that learns to play, how that follows coaching, and how deep those positions are two different things. But my bold prediction is Georgia returns to elite defensive play in 25.
I like it. Definitely would like to hear that, and then I hope if they can stop the run a little better, that'd be great. I'll make awesome. A couple of mine. Mine is going to be more player focused. I'm going to go, if he stays healthy, because he's going to get the most of the carries, hopefully. I'm going to go Nate Frazier, north of 1,000 rushing yards.
That sounds good.
Hadn't had one of those in a while. And then I'm going to also say this: Georgia maybe doesn't go undefeated, even though you don't have to go undefeated 12-0 anymore. But I believe they still go undefeated at home this year, continue the streak. And they're going to beat Alabama, who's got a lot of question marks, Ole Miss, and Texas are the big games. I'm not sold on Arch Manning. He's got to show me some things. So Georgia undefeated at home with that tough schedule.
I love it. I think that if you wanted me to name a name for a bold prediction, Bell is going to break out at wide receiver, and it's not Dylan Bell. It's Jeremy Bell. I think that kid has the ability to come out of nowhere and be a major contributor. Dylan Bell's going to be fine. He's a great player. But Jeremy Bell, what we're hearing about practices right now is that the athleticism is simply insane with him, whether it's playing pickup basketball or whether it's at practice. That Troop and I watched him catch 3 touchdowns in the spring game earlier this year, or he may have caught 3 the scrimmage before and 2 at the scrimmage we were at, something like that. Right. Just looks great, and he has that you never see me coming thing going for him. How he squeaked through as a 3-star, I have no idea. But that would be a bold prediction, I guess, for a player, would be Jeremy Bell. Really, he becomes a national name this season.
All right. Well, I'm excited about that one. Jeremy Bell, I hear you, man.
Yeah.
Before we get to some of the other big questions, I want to give a shout out to VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Great sponsor of the show the last couple of years. Great for round of golf. Got pool season is in effect. Summertime. Also, if you got any bachelor party trips coming up, it's a little hit for me maybe.
That's right.
Watermelon. Also coconut, which has been sold out. My personal favorite is the watermelon. Check them out for Doghouse 20% off. Again, that's Doghouse 20% off. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Check them out on Instagram, and their YouTube channel is growing as well.
So what does an elderberry taste like? Just out of curiosity. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of like more of a berry type flavor.
Okay.
There's the huckleberry too. Yeah, it's
I know huckleberry. I'm from South Georgia.
Oh, there you go. I hear you.
I love grapefruit. I'll give it a shot.
Oh yeah. Good stuff. So they have the post-spring SP rankings. Everybody's talking about the list and everything from ESPN. Wanted to see if you think any of these teams are maybe overrated. It's an interesting list. Some of it is the kind of the who's who of college football, but it's always good to look at the list because, as they say, everybody's undefeated currently, right? Until they start playing.
That's right.
So Ohio State, got to give it to them, returning champs, even though they lost a lot. Not really sure who the quarterback's going to be. Alabama, number 2, I thought's aggressive after last year. Penn State, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Oregon, bigger names. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on maybe who's maybe underrated, overrated. This kind of interesting list. This is came out recently with ESPN.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. Clemson always seems to fall into a cushy ranking every year, no matter what they've got going on. But they do actually have a returning quarterback this year.
Right.
Ohio State, I don't mind leaving the champs at the champ position. Right. Alabama, it's interesting to me. Georgia gets penalized on these preseason lists or whatever for having an unproven quarterback coming in. And then you go and take Ohio State, Oklahoma, LSU, Oregon, Alabama. They all have the exact same thing. They have an unproven quarterback coming in this year. That seems to be a knock that is only available for Georgia. I think that one of the interesting things to me is where Florida keeps popping up on these lists. You know, they've been as high as 4 on one I saw. just a lot of hype around the quarterback position. It's important to remember that's the Florida Gators. That you have no idea. They could not even make the college playoff. They might be out of the top 25 when the season ends next year. I really like South Carolina.
Yep.
I like everything about the way that team's structured. I like the way they're coached. It's important to remember, Gunner Stockton fans, Gunner was going to go to South Carolina before someone named Mike Bobo convinced him to come to Georgia. So South Carolina sees players similarly to the way Georgia does, and they play a hard brand of football. Penn State is always going to be ranked high and never have to prove it on the field. They just don't have to. They'll get one win that's impressive. That's what everybody will wrap their arms around, and then they'll peter off and have a disappointing season like they do every single year. And then Alabama could run a student quarterback out onto the field. They'd be ranked top 3 every year. It's just the way they are. It's an interesting season for Alabama because the honeymoon will be over by midseason. I've got a feeling once they come into Athens in September, I think that DeBoer will for the first time be feeling the pressure. And so I could see Alabama could, Troop and I were just talking about this. Alabama could win a national championship or miss the playoff. They are really, I don't know where you would rank them.
Right.
And then Oregon, where's Oregon right now? Where are they on there?
They're like number 6, I believe.
Number 6. And that's the Oregon has seemed a bit high for me because of what they lost.
7. I'm sorry, 7.
Yeah, they've lost a lot and have to replace it. And they've got the players, but they haven't played. That seems high to me. But yeah, it's always interesting to me to find. I always go and find where Florida, where Penn State, and where BYU are, because those are a lot of times some of the early darlings that just pop up on these. BYU always gets a favorable ranking, and no one considers they're just not in the running later, but they'll be ranked high early in the season every year.
Yeah.
And then I think Auburn could surprise a few people this year. I think that
I think Hugh Freeze needs to. He's got to maybe get 8-9 wins or he's done. I think it's his third year, I believe.
Third year. Talk about the honeymoon being over. The Michael Orr blindside glow is gone, and it's time to put up. But I live amongst many Auburn fans, and they can't stand Hugh Freeze. I mean, I have not talked to an Auburn fan here in North Alabama that is a Hugh Freeze fan. So I'm guessing the leash will be a little shorter this year.
Hey, I got a stat for you, Smooch. You might didn't know this. Did you know, I think from what I read this, that Auburn hasn't had a winning season since 2019.
That's unbelievable.
That's
unbelievable. And it drives you crazy as a fan, because we've been this way as Georgia fans to watch your team underachieve and populate the NFL the very next year. It drove me crazy that a team that had, Green and Stafford on it, it fell flat. And then we watch the NFL, these players go and have these huge careers. Auburn does that right now.
Oh yeah.
And since 2019, that may be a mid-season firing. You don't see many of those anymore, but you may actually see that with Auburn this year.
And then back to our Florida buddies as usual. I'm surprised Napier's not getting a lot more hot seat talk.
Yeah.
Also, a couple of weeks ago, they've improved. I'll give it to them, but they were 69th in recruiting. Just checked it; they're 50th.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? They brought them in for recruiting. You got to do better than that. You might get some guys, but if you're even in the top 20 these days, you're going to get left behind. You're going to be 7-5 programs. So especially now, because the parity is such. It used to be the top 3 schools in recruiting were significantly better than numbers 4, 5, and 6, and 7. And then the difference between number 1 in recruiting and number 8 in recruiting used to be insurmountable. It's not as much anymore with NIL. They kind of spread out a little more. But if you are outside of, say, the top 12 consistently in recruiting, you don't have a chance to compete. If you want to look at the rise of Notre Dame, like they suddenly showed up, no, look where they've been finishing in recruiting. They are getting better and better players. They've got a real coach now, and they're climbing the ladder.
yeah, the recruiting excellence, there's a reason these coaches go to the NFL after a few years of coaching college. It is hard to recruit in college football, and because that is 70% of the game is won in the living room, not on the football field. And that is a really, it's a telling stat when you look at the sustained dominance of Kirby and then going back to the great one, Nick Saban, what they were able to do for prolonged periods of time.
Completely agree on the recruiting, and Kirby's that. And I taking it back to like Mark Rick years, I felt like, you know, he would get 8, 10 ranked class, 12. And then Kirby came in and just thought elite level. And I always thought like Georgia, maybe that front 11 on each side was solid, but deep in the games when they play the Alabamans and those, you get worn down. And they came back recruiting, and Kirby's got that fixed. So, yeah.
What Kirby brought, that's exactly right. What Kirby brought is when those players, when the lights go down, if you're at a night game in Athens, there's nothing better. When the lights go down and the players hold up those 4 fingers to start the fourth quarter, Georgia knows they now have you in deep water, and nobody swims in deep water better than the Georgia Bulldogs. When those guys hold up those 4 fingers at the start of the fourth quarter, you need a cushion of a lead because it's going to go away. Georgia has the depth to just keep running 5-star talent at you all game long. And that is the luxury you buy yourself with plus recruiting. It's murked up a little bit by the NIL Wild West going on right now. But great coaches adapt, you know, or they either retire, which we also saw with another great coach. They either adapt or they get out. And Kirby has shown the ability to adapt. And I think that we're going to see I'm hoping that we're going to see a personnel adaptation in this new NIL world. And it looks like we are. On paper, the players are there.
Oh, yeah, sure. Wouldn't want any other coach. I'm lucky to have Kirby Paul Smart at the helm. Hopefully we'll get him many more years. We'll see.
Absolutely.
And then going to look at it. I was looking at it a little bit the other day because it's getting closer. We're here in June at the schedule. Probably one of the best home slates, but I wanted to see maybe any like interesting dark horse games, or I call them landmines, seeing landmine games.
Oh, there's a huge landmine game. Yeah, it's at Tennessee.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, because there's so much. The Tennessee game. First of all, it happens on my birthday, so I forbid them to lose. Thank you. But the Tennessee game happens with 2 things. It has a bye week behind it, and it has Alabama on the other side.
Right.
And you will have just, you know, they're going to start slow against Marshall in the first half, and they're going to pull away to a big win in the end. Austin P is just going to be a depth game. And then we're in Neyland with an untested team.
Yep.
We're in Neyland Stadium with a team that has not been punched in the mouth yet. And Tennessee, with all their problems and all their hype, Neyland is still an absolute haunted house to play in. I mean, it's a wild environment. And you've got that rematch with Alabama staring at you. You got a week off, or time a week off game wise, but you got a week without a game, bye week, and then you've got the Alabama game. That Tennessee game is one that I know Kirby's thinking the same thing. You cannot let that sneak up on you because those guys are itching. Beating Georgia would be as good as any other accomplishment they could have. I mean, it is at the top. They've proven they can beat Alabama. They just haven't beaten Georgia in this Heupel era. That could save his job. That could give them something as they fall apart late season, which Tennessee will because they don't have the players this year. As they fall apart late in the season, if they have something to wrap their arms around, like a win against Georgia, that one bothers me. I believe the Florida game also comes after a bye week. Yes. Florida game after a bye week, and then Mississippi State into Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And the Texas thing is, so Georgia-Florida game is highly emotional. Georgia-Mississippi State, we often seem to elevate Mississippi State to play right with us until late in those games. I don't know why that is. And then Texas right on the other side of it. So that's 3 SEC games. It's really 4 or 5 or 6 in a row, but there's 3 bye week and then 3. of our SEC schedule. Florida, Mississippi State, Texas. There could be a loss in there in those 3 games right there. That's the time of year where teams start to wear down, where injuries start to take their toll, and then poof, there's Texas. But we will know so much about Arch Manning at that point. I do not understand. If you watch Arch Manning's football, I don't understand how a guy that could not beat out a quarterback that went in the 7th round of the NFL draft.
Yes.
I don't understand how that quarterback is suddenly the best quarterback in the nation, or certainly the SEC, and it's going to lead you to the promised land. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't get it. Not to mention Arch's senior year of high school, he threw an alarming number of interceptions in basically private school ball. So I'm not I know Georgia went all in on Arch and didn't get him, but I have never been a fully on board with this Arch Manning as this great quarterback they're going to hand everything to. So we'll know that by the time we get there. But that little three game stretch that ends with Texas, I've got a feeling if Georgia's going to lose one, it's going to be in those 3 games because they're going to be highly emotional, and they just come in those dog days, no pun intended, of the season. And so that's the schedule. When you get that Texas game under your belt, they come out of that with a victory. You can see the finish line from there. It's just getting over that hump. But by the time it gets here, what we're going to know about Gunner and what we're going to know about Arch, that's what I'm looking forward to the most. You know, I like to set up the season in terms of little mountaintops. So we've got to get to this point, and then we look back. We get to this point, and then we look back at what we've done. For me this year, it's climbing to the top of that Texas game. You got that that's very similar to the way we looked at that Tennessee game when Georgia and Tennessee were undefeated in 2022 season. And they met in Athens. That's a mountaintop game in the season. That Texas game I see like that. We'll know a lot about these teams. They're going to meet up. It's going to be in Athens. It's going to be wild, and we're going to see. And at that point, you can look back on what kind of team you really have. You'll know at that point, and you can also see the finish line from there. So I'm really excited about the Texas game. I don't have tickets for it yet. I do have tickets for the Alabama game.
There you go. Nice.
So I'll be there for sure. And I'll probably end up at the Texas game too. It's hard not to. I'm tempted to go out to Neyland for the Tennessee game, but I've never seen Georgia play in Neyland. I've seen a game or two in Neyland, but I've never seen the Dogs play there. So
nice.
Yeah.
Great home slate, and we just got to somehow get over the Alabama hump. Got to get them this year.
If you don't get them this year, Trey, it's going to be considered a mental block, like something that the Dogs just can't do because you lost the quarterback. Yeah. You got a new guy coming. This is the year to get them, to make it sting. I mean, to hang a whooping on them is this year. If you don't get it done in Athens with a new quarterback, you're going to start to believe as a team that you can't beat this team. It's only human nature.
I just want them to get off the faster starts, and I don't want it to be such a strain in each game. Like it was so hard in each game just to kind of pull away. They would win. I know they had a lot of resilience, less talent, but just be more polished in each game. Just punch them in the mouth and lay them out. And it's not, hey, we got 7 points halftime, boys. Gotta wake up and let's get this get it going.
The Kentucky game was like that for me last year. Just put them away. Why are we playing with our food? Get out there and execute. I know every team brings their A game to Athens, but spot on. We've got to jump on teams early. I know that Georgia goes in a little more vanilla against teams they expect to beat, but we have got to put the foot on the gas pedal and push through these teams. That's that year with Stetson where we almost lost to Missouri by doing that exact same thing, just so flat, not being able to get started, ended up coming back and winning. But I just want to see Georgia go in when they're better than the team, go in and leave no doubt, beat them in the first, second, third, and fourth quarter, and then go home. Yeah. And so I really think that I'm hoping that with a quarterback that everyone's behind, we had so many drops in the first and second quarter last year. And you can't just put that all on bad receivers. you have to, that's everywhere. That goes to even team morale and lack of focus. If you're fighting with the guy throwing you the ball and he hits you in the hands and you drop it, you're going to be more likely to do it again because your mind's just not in the game. And so I'm hoping this camaraderie that Gunner seems to bring with him really leads to a lot more focus, like you were saying, a lot more execution early in these games, and just put these teams in the rearview mirror early.
All right. I agree with that. My analogy, I used to tell my mom, and it was fun. It wasn't funny. I was serious at the time because she's diehard, and we talked several times during the game. It was this team in the first half was like having an old car in the garage. You know, you're trying to getting it started. You got it. Hey, we got it, man. Hit it now. Hey, and then in the second half, it would kick in, get the motor going. Hey, get release out of the garage, but it's like first half, man, it's just stalling out in the damn garage.
That is exactly,
man.
That's exactly it. You know, it was a buddy of mine got a Corvette in high school. I went to a private school, so I didn't have any money, but some of my friends did. And a buddy of mine got a Corvette, but it was a stick shift. It was the same thing. It's like, all right, he revs it up. He goes to start and just poof, dies right there. You know, so after 30 minutes, he had moved it about 8 feet. Driving his Corvette because he didn't know how to drive a stick. That was the Georgia offense to me in the first parts of games last year. It was like they had a hot rod, they just didn't know how to drive a stick shift. And so
exactly, that's a great analogy.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, Smooch, really appreciate you coming on again. How do we follow you guys on social media and YouTube and everything?
Yeah, everything is at the DawgShowPod, DAWG Dawg, at the DawgShowPod. Our TikTok does really well. Our YouTube, like I said, we were just talking before, you guys are about to put us over 1,000 subscribers, somewhere we never thought we would ever get. So that's great. But yeah, YouTube, the Dawg Show with Troop and Smooch will take you there on any other thing. But our TikTok and our Twitter are really where we are most of the time, and keep the conversation going. We hear from you guys all the time on Twitter, X, whatever. And then on, like I say, TikTok, it's all shorts, but it's a different type of person over there. They're a little more angry. And then over on YouTube, we have lots of really long form conversations in the comments of our shows. We're a long form show, an hour long. And so one of the things that we do is we do respond to every single comment we get. So we love to keep the conversation going. So you'll either be talking to me or Troop if you're responding to the Dawg Show. But man, it's always great to be on the Dawg House, which, the way I found your show is I thought that would be a great name for a podcast. And I went online and looked, and I found Trey Tucker.
Oh, and, nice, man.
That's how we, yeah. And so, love your show. Looks great. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate it, Smooch. Follow the Dawg Show. They're at 934. Let's get them over that 1,000 mark, and they can get monetized. And I love the intro. Welcome to the Dawg Show. The Dawg Show. I love those guys. It's good, man. And then the editing during it is top notch too. Put some edited clips of some of the games and everything. Really good.
Yeah, we like to do a lot of B-roll, a lot of edited stuff. Really, really polish it up, make it something that's fun to watch. Troop runs a bar, and so it plays in there, and that's what gave us the idea. We could make this a little more eye-catching, and you get people to watch it instead of just listen to it in the background. And so it plays up in there for his patrons in Georgia. And that kind of, it just evolved into an edited, more cut reels and B-roll and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming on again, and make sure to like, subscribe, share the Dawghouse podcast if you're still around.
Yes.
And football season be here before you know it.
I can smell it, man. It's time. Man. Let's go.
That's right. Go Dawgs.
Go Dawgs.